Welcome back into the Bettor Half Hour, my favorite segment where we bring you sports betting veterans winning more than they're losing to the mic. You've seen him on the show before. He is a part of the DraftKings family. Reid Fowler joining me again. Reid, how are you and happy Masters weekend?
Yeah, Alex, thanks for having me again. This is one of the best weeks in golf that we have. I know there's some weather out there right now, but excited to be here and excited to talk golf.
Of course. All right, so first things first, the course of all the majors is the only course that stays consistent at Augusta every year. How much do you factor that into familiarity for these golfers?
Yeah, quite a bit. I think I was on this show last time talking about there's some courses that experience at that specific track plays a huge factor into betting, the pre-tournament guys that you want to bet on. And this is one of them. This is probably the most important that you need experience at. If you look at the guys who have won this golf tournament, they've had an average of at least 3 major appearances in their career, and they've had top finishes too. It's not just that they've had appearances there. They've had top finishes at this course before, so it plays a massive factor when choosing who to pick.
As far as golfers that have played here very well in years past or struggled in years past, how much do you factor that in to your handicapping?
Yeah, same. I mean, look, the reason why it's so nice here, and not that it's easy at all, right, is that it's at the same place, right, Alex? We talk about that all the time, that a lot of these golf courses, they can change, right? Even some of these, like there's some golf courses on the PGA Tour schedule that really don't. Riviera, Augusta National, there's just a handful that just stay. But this one has been at this venue for so long, so you kind of want to factor that in. Having said that, though, there are guys that, look, you can have a couple of missed cuts. Rory McIlroy has, missed the cut last year, and Dustin Johnson has missed the cut, right? But it doesn't really factor in a ton when you talk about these guys who are playing well, who are ranked, top 10, top 25 in the world, and have current form coming in. So it definitely plays a factor. I'm not going to worry too much about the guys who missed the cut. More about let's get these guys on the course more times than not, and then see how they play.
From a betting perspective, Reid, do you like to watch the first round unfold and live bet, or do you prefer to actually make all your bets prior to the first round?
Yeah, I'll make a handful of pre-tournament bets because those lines, are the best, right? And well, let me preface it this way: the outright market can be fruitful pre-tournament, right? Especially when you have all the top golfers in the world. You see a ton of value. You see it in daily fantasy, also on the sports betting market, where there's a ton of value at these top golfers. Like Daniel Berger is at plus 4,000, plus 5,000. He's really has vacillated in between that range, and he's one of the better golfers on tour. And you have Will Zalatoris at plus 3,500. He doesn't have a PGA Tour win yet. So you like those pre-tournament odds. Having said that, though, there are some cases to be made that once you see these guys go out there, and if they can put up a good round on Thursday, then you might want to fire on them because they got the right side of the tee draw. Let's say a guy that goes out tomorrow afternoon plays well. Well, he's going to go out Friday morning where the course conditions are going to be a little bit softer and could get off to a fast start. So maybe you want to wait on making some of those bets after you see the first round, and especially the matchups. So I'm a big person who plays matchups. After I see these guys play for one round. And in the second round, I'll probably look at fading some of those guys who maybe putted well but didn't hit it. And then vice versa, guys who hit it well who putted incorrectly or putted badly, those are the guys I'd be chasing.
Have to bring up the talk of the Masters weekend. Tiger Woods in the building. How are you looking at him from a betting perspective? Of course, he's won 5 green jackets. He's only missed the cut once, and it was his first year ever. What are your thoughts on all things Tiger Woods bets?
Yeah, it's crazy that he's even here, to be honest. And I love it. We always talk about, I'm sure you've heard this quite a bit, Alex, this week, that he is the needle that moves golf. And it's true. Having said that, if you're looking at it from a profit standpoint, I think there's too many tails on both sides of him making or missing the cut. So I don't think it's a profitable bet to look at Tiger. And look, he's probably at every sports book the biggest liability that every book has, right? Because the amount of handle and bets on Tiger is probably 2x the next closest guy. Having said that, I want him as a fan to make the cut, but the positive EV bet to me is probably for him to miss it, which is going to get me a lot of flack on Twitter, which is not the popular pick. But that's probably the smarter bet. Because I bet a lot, and a lot of us do bet with your heart, I'm probably just going to stay away and just enjoy the ride and see Tiger Woods back at Augusta. It's a beautiful thing.
It is indeed. All right, Reid, what kind of bets do you like to make for viewers out there watching? You got top 5, top 10, you have miss cuts, you have matchup play. Talk to us a little about your favorite kind of bets.
Yeah, of course. Outrights are the favorite, right? That's the stuff that a lot of people like to talk about, because if we can claim that we call the winner pre-tournament, it's pretty nice and you get a nice payout. But look, positive EV bets, top 5, top 10, top 20, the derivative markets are fantastic. Look, Stuart Sink is probably one of my favorite derivative bets to make the top 20 at plus 800. He's got a solid record here. He was 7th at Valspar, a handful of weeks ago, and he gained 5 strokes on approach and putting. And again, he's been here since 2004 and is a major winner. So there's value to be gleaned from these derivative markets. But at the same time, the favorite bets to make are the outrights, because we want to catch the winners.
How about someone flying under the radar from a value perspective you're thinking about firing on to win?
Yeah, so the first guy I wanted to mention was Shane Lowry, but I think he's getting a lot of love today, so I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use Daniel Berger. I alluded to him earlier. Look, if you got it earlier in the week at plus 5,000, that's where he was sitting. I think he's now at plus 4,000, so he's come down quite a bit. But you take a look at what he's done this season so far. It's been fantastic. The ball striking is there, and he's one of those players. He finished 10th on debut at Augusta. It hasn't been great since then here, but like I mentioned before, he's got a lot of finishes. He has that disposition to where if things get tough, he can get going. And we saw him, like, he was second after round 1 at the Players, but because of that weather and because of how wonky that week was, he finished top 15. I think he's flying under the radar and someone that you probably want to take a closer look at before the tournament starts. And even if it starts and he shoots a 69 on Thursday, I still like him down the stretch.
How about previous winners that you're looking at in this tournament? A DJ, maybe a Tiger. I mean, you're not like a Tiger, but anyone that's won in recent memory that you're thinking about winning?
Look, Adam Scott, I think, is someone that you got to pay attention to. Australians are very creative around the greens. They've had to growing up in Australia and playing golf there. And he's someone that, look, his ball striking is fantastic, and he's putting with that broomstick fantastically, Alex. Like, once he switched to that long putter, the guy has been a much better putter. So he's someone I'm taking a look at as a past winner. I'm worried about Hideki and the neck. It's just, I can't really get there, and it's so hard to repeat back-to-back. Tiger Woods is the only person to do it in our modern game, right? In like the last handful of years to do it back-to-back. But I would probably say Adam Scott is probably one of my favorites. DJ has gone to the red. No one's talking about DJ, and I wouldn't be surprised. Granted, he won in that November edition in 2020, but like, would anybody be surprised if DJ comes back and he wins another one? Not at all.
Reid, phenomenal insight as always. Thank you so much for stopping by. Don't go anywhere. Coming up next, we're talking all things Masters, some more here, talking about some players as well. Don't go anywhere here on the Bettor Half Hour.